Hello and welcome. I am Oiza Adaba coming to you live from our Africa related studio in New York. I am very excited today to be talking to a wonderful woman, very experienced and she brings her wealth of experience to the table to us this today to talk about the tourism industry generally, especially as it pertains to Africa. She is none other than Taubie Motlhabane. Taubie is the CEO of the Cape Town International Convention Center, CTICC. And she assumed this role very, very recently, but she came with over 29 experience in the workplace, and 18 of which have been in senior executive and management positions. Her current role as CEO of the Cape Town International Convention Center, and in this role, she's responsible for the strategic direction and the management of this world-class 5-star rated convention center and the events there as well. Taubie is also the current ICCAA African chapter chair. Her plate is full, you can tell. She holds a master's in global marketing from the University of Liverpool in the UK, as well as a BA in communications from the University of Botswana, now Northwest in South Africa. Her career has forged in both private and public sector in areas such as marketing, customer and stakeholder management, communications, event management, public relations, broadcasting, media and tourism, and general business management. Taubie, you have done so much, and we value your experience from being executive director at the Shwane Convention Center and Visitors Bureau to your role as a business tourism manager and association and intergovernmental meetings with South African tourism. So you have put in so much with the tourism sector in South Africa, and it is such a privilege to have you today and be talking to you at this very important time. So welcome, Taubie.
Thank you so much. What in an introduction. Wow, I am humbled. Thank you very, very much, Oiza.
You are humbled. It's your achievements. It's your achievements. It's what you have done, and we not just as women, but as Africans, remain very proud of what you have brought into the Cape Town Convention Center. Let's get straight to that. You took over this position when just as COVID broke. And what a time to do that. Tell us about give us an overview of how the Cape Town International Conference Center functions and what it was before, and when you came on board and COVID hit, how did it change?
Okay. Look, what a time to come into any position, and what a time for any leader in any organization anywhere in the world. When COVID hit, I think it was a new playing field for everybody around the world. Nobody had ever been there before. But for me, I mean, I came on board to run a convention center, and COVID hit, and we had to really pivot our operations into something else, something we could not have imagined. Your question was before COVID hit, the Cape Town International Convention Center was, and thankfully is still known as, the best convention center on the African continent. I mean, we are number one in terms of the number of events that we hold, and we are well renowned for our standards and the customer service and the quality of standards that we offer as a convention center. And we are very proud of those accolades, and we work very hard to ensure that post-COVID, we retain those accolades and retain those standards. But in March, when COVID hit and South Africa went into lockdown, All of us then saw ourselves working remotely from home. We had to close down because gatherings could not happen. And as you know, the tourism industry, and especially business tourism, was the hardest hit. Yes. Because the nature of our business is conferences, it's events, it's festivals, it's exhibitions. And COVID then really caused us to shut down. So I think it was a week after we shut down, the provincial government in the Western Cape approached us to say, would we consider, as the Cape Town International Convention Center, consider us being used as a COVID-19 field hospital? Now, for us, immediately we thought, okay, this is a new challenge for us as the Cape Town International Convention Center. And immediately we were like, okay, if we can sit around the table and see how we can do that, absolutely, why not? And we did a little bit of desktop research, and we found out that there were actually a lot of convention centers around the world that were repurposing their spaces for fighting the pandemic. And that is the beauty of the business events industry, or what is known as business tourism, is that this industry is an industry that finds solutions for any kind of industry, whether it is agriculture. The meetings industry means people come together to find solutions. But when we had the opportunity to be part of the solution to combat the pandemic in South Africa, we welcomed it. So in a matter of 6 weeks, from starting to talk about the possibility of turning one of our buildings into a COVID-19 hospital, to actually admitting patients, we sat down and we found solutions on how we could do it. And the Cape Town International Convention Center was turned into the largest COVID-19 field hospital on the continent. And we ran the hospital from May until September. And the images that you see there is the president of the organization of South Africa actually opening what it came to be known as the Hospital of Hope. That is another building that we own. These are images of the Hospital of Hope, with which had the capacity of about 862 beds.
Amazing. Taubie, this was entirely, you came in to run a convention center and you ended up
running a
hospital. How did that play out for you? I mean, it must have been very, very busy during that period. And I pictured every CEO and every head of any organization just looking for ways around going business. So how did you manage through all that? And in terms of the help you found on ground at the center?
Well, we have, and I'm not just saying this because this is where I work. We probably have some of the most work-focused employees of any organization around the world. And I will put my head on the block for that. I have been working for 30 years, and I have not come across a workforce like we have at the CTICC. I mean, when everybody was in lockdown, everybody was relegated to their houses under lockdown and literally hibernating. Our staff were ready to come out and be on the front line to fight this pandemic. So we were very, very involved in the design and making the hospital come to life.
Right.
Our operations team, who know the building, had actually the job of facilitating the reticulation of oxygen, for instance, to every bed, making sure that the Department of Health knew where and how they could set up whatever it is, the facilities that they needed to run a hospital. And one other thing that we then took on is that our food and beverage department was the ones providing the meals for the patients and some of the meals for the medical staff.
Everybody got to work.
Absolutely, which was fantastic. And our team was actually very grateful that they felt like they were contributing to the solution. And that made us very, very proud. And we're still very, very proud of the team that were putting themselves in harm's way every single day. But they had the bigger picture in mind to say that if they become part of the solution, we can hopefully come out of it sooner and better off.
Indeed. My goodness. What a job and what a time to start it. Speaking of your team, we're going to, watch a little bit about your team right now and what this Cape Town International Conference Center family is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Cape Town is the top destination in Africa for meetings and conferences.
And there's no bigger venue for us when it comes to hosting global exhibitions than the CTICC.
We are excited in celebrating the GED platform with you, which has been created to promote careers and business development in our industry.
Whilst we are going through a very difficult time at this moment, I know that we will overcome as we are stronger together.
Despite COVID-19 bringing our industry to a grinding halt, it has simultaneously accelerated the growth of our industry by forcing us to upgrade our safety protocol, enhance our business with digital integration.
We do think it's going to be in a different format, but what it has allowed us to do is look with innovation and creativity at our digital set, and we've got some good things in market. We're excited for the future.
The thousands of delegates that conventions and conferencing bring into Cape Town also support upstream and linked industries.
They also help us attract investors and boost trade relations in sectors that are profiled through our exhibitions.
Together with exhibitions, we will, post-COVID, be able to pick up this economy and take it forward into the future.
This year, all of us in the exhibitions industry find ourselves facing a global crisis like we've never seen before. However, I am very, very confident that we will overcome. As usually, the human race overcomes. And when all this is over, I cannot wait to meet some new friends and see some old ones right here in Cape Town. See you soon.
See you soon, indeed.
Absolutely. We hope to see you soon. And those were just some of the partners that we work with. You saw Tim Harris from Westgrow, which is the investment and tourism entity of the Western Cape. You saw Dion Klute, who's our board chair and also the general manager of the Cape Town International Airport. We saw some people from the city of Cape Town. The Alderman Force, the City of Cape Town is one of our main shareholders. So we've got a lot of support as the CTICC from partners that have got a vested interest in seeing that we succeed. And as thus, we are very confident that we will always have the support if we have to change strategies, change approaches on how to get our business back. So we're sitting in a very fortunate position of having a lot of support and a lot of confidence from our partners to see that right now times are dark, but the sun will shine again, I'm sure.
Yeah, it sure will. And you bring your energy. I mean, I've known you for years, and I know that, whatever you set out to do, you're a very, very determined person. So that is a great asset for this position. You bring that energy into it, and you do have an optimistic outlook towards the tourism industry generally. But what are these dark parts right now that it's facing? I know travel is down, airlines have suffered, and the industry generally, like you said, have taken. But what specifically are these dark periods right now?
I think the main thing is not knowing how this pandemic or how this virus is going to unfold. And all of us not having a crystal ball, all of us would love to be able to predict the future and to know with certainty that this is going to happen, and therefore I can plan this way and mitigate the future this way. But nobody knows. And unfortunately, what we are seeing happening, not so much in Africa at the moment, and I'm saying that very consciously at the moment, we are seeing what's happening in Europe and what's happening in the US, where the numbers are surging over again.
Right.
And that means that if this happens on the African continent, and by the way, a continent that can afford that the least, if the numbers, if we get to a really robust second wave of this pandemic, the impact is going to be unimaginable. And that will mean that the negative impact that we saw during the first wave will be even worse. And that means more job losses. That means more businesses closing down. And the African economy cannot afford that. So for us, unfortunately, one of the dark realities is that if we don't find a solution to this pandemic soon enough, we are really in trouble. And that has got repercussions that we can't even think about at the moment. So not having a crystal ball, not knowing exactly what's going to happen, and if we don't get a solution or a vaccine or solution to the pandemic, then our economies are in real trouble, and that will impact people.
And livelihoods, jobs, like you mentioned, all of that. But we'll take a quick break and allow you to catch your breath, and then we'll come back in 15 seconds and talk about what Africa can pick up from Cape Town International Conference Center and their approach to the COVID-19 pandemic. Stay tuned. And we are back, still talking with Taubie Motlhabane. Taubie is the CEO of the Cape Town International Conference Center in Cape Town, South Africa. What can Africa learn from, the rest of Africa learn from your approach to tourism, what you bring to the table, all your years of experiences, traveling through the continent and, seeing how each country approaches their tourism sector. What can the rest of the continent learn from your approach and your experience?
Well, I wouldn't want to presume to be the answer for what Africa can learn from me and can do for them to actually deal with COVID. I think all of us are learning as we are going along. It's a new day for everybody, but what we can do, I believe that the way for us to win as the tourism industry on the continent, it is through collaboration. I have very strong thoughts about that. Yes, traditionally we've been competing with certain countries and certain markets. But I think COVID has shown us that if we are not going to work together, then we are all going to lose. And we need to have the approach of competition, cooperating while competing, cooperating with your competitors, sharing the best practices in terms of safety protocols around COVID, sharing the best practices in terms of how to do virtual events, how to do hybrid events, sharing the best practices in terms of knowledge sharing, sharing tools that will help people, recover or do things in such a way that they build confidence for people to come through their doors. So I think for us as the Cape Town International Convention Center, we are not wanting to position ourselves as the people who can teach the continent, but we want to position ourselves as the people who will take the responsibility to learn from the best practices and the responsibility to share that knowledge with all our peers throughout the continent. Because if there's no confidence on the continent for conferences and exhibition, all of us lose. But if the continent can showcase the rest of the world that we are practicing safe protocols to host business events or lifestyle events, and if I know certain protocols and I can share that knowledge or those tools, then people will have confidence to bring their events to the continent. Then it means that I will also benefit because I'm also on the same continent. So our position is to take the responsibility to ensure that the continent is safe. And we do that by sharing the knowledge that we gain and by learning from the best.
Wonderful. I am going to play right now. Well, speaking of, the bringing this experience and also talking about what you just did, bringing the post-COVID experience and managing the safety of your attendants. I see that very much displayed in one of the videos that I saw on the Cape Town International Conference Center website. And I'd like to share that with our viewers so that we can see the new way now that business is being handled. Business has not stopped. It can't stop because that would bring our economies down. Business must go on, but how best can we do this? So let's take a look at how the CTICC is doing that. Thank you so much, Cape Town International Conference Center, for sharing that indeed extraordinary experience with us, because we still see in certain parts of the continent where it's not being taken seriously. The approach is not really on par with what is expected in the rest of the world. Great. Let's talk about women.
Okay.
Let's talk about strong women. I love that topic. I'm sure I'm sure South Africa monitored the US elections.
Oh yes.
With keen interest, as with the rest of the world. I don't know any country or anyone that wasn't interested in the US elections this year. But my particular area of interest is in the vice presidency seats, and that is the role now occupied by a woman, the first of so many, first Black woman, first Asian woman, first. So it's a time for women, isn't it? And now we have you as a woman occupying this great position as a CEO of Cape Town International Conference Center. Women in today's world. Tell us about it.
Well, I must say that it is absolutely fantastic for us around the world to see a woman of color in a very senior position in the White House. Definitely change is afoot, and there's no other direction but forward. So congratulations to the people of the United States for making a very brave but necessary decision for change. So we are very, very proud of Kamala Harris, and we wish her all the best. But we are also very proud on the African continent, especially in the tourism industry, that it is one of the few industries that has been showing a lot of leadership of women. I mean, I'm not the only woman who's running an international convention center in South Africa. We've got Lindua Rakarebe, who is running the Durban International Convention Center, again, one of the largest convention centers on the continent. We've got Bronwyn Cadel DuPont, who runs the CSIR International Convention Center in Pretoria. And before me at the CTICC, we had Julie May Ellingson, who's my predecessor. And Julie May also happened to have run the Durban International Convention Center. So South Africa has got a very good history of women in the in leading roles in the tourism industry. And I mean, it's the list is endless. We've got Transnet, which is one of our state-owned companies, having a woman who's starting up a new tourism section within Transnet. So definitely, there's a lot of women who have got a lot of capabilities and skills. And all we need to do as society is give them the opportunity to make the transformation that they can and the transformation that we need as a society.
Indeed, that is just the point, is the opportunity, and we see that being opened up more and more in conversations, especially when it concerns women's payrolls, for example. That definitely has to be reviewed worldwide, and we see that happening. We see women presidents in certain parts, so women are being definitely coming up, but more opportunities are needed for women out there. Let's go into a very, very critical and somewhat sensitive area, because South Africa and Nigeria, have a very special relationship, and tourism is a big part of it. I know Nigerians love to come to South Africa for tourism. I also know that Nigeria and South Africa have had, their rifts in terms of xenophobia attacks, on other African nationals, by South Africans. It's been in the news, back in 2016. It came back again. There have been instances, and governments have been trying to manage those situations. How has that impacted on the tourism industry? And where is the place for healing and, South Africa telling the rest of the world that, it's okay, and also trying to manage it as it's damage control too?
Look, absolutely. Like you said, there is as much as, I mean, you and I have been friends for more than 20 years. We're now telling people our age. But we've been friends for a very long time, a South African girl and a Nigerian girl who are like sisters. I mean, when I talk about you, I say to people, my sister, Oiza.
Yes.
My mother and my grandmother still think you as part of the family. You are one of the daughters. But there is this sinister part of the history between South Africans and Nigerians, and not at government level, but at citizen level, where Nigerians love to visit South Africa. We love Nigerians and the amount of money they spend in our tourism economy. And it is very, very unfortunate that there will be those elements of xenophobic tendencies that really cause a rift and put really a bad filter on the tourism industry in South Africa. I will not paint it over and say that that has not had an impact on the tourism. It really has, because you don't want, when people think about, other Africans think about visiting South Africa, the first thing that comes to mind is that, am I welcome in South Africa by South Africans because I'm an African national? It is very unfortunate. And it is part of, I think, the history of South Africa, where there is almost like a historic and systemic identity crisis about really truly seeing ourselves as Africans. And I want to believe that the majority of South Africans are not xenophobic, and I know that they are not. And it is unfortunate that when incidents like that happen, they get publicized all over the media, and it looks like this is the position of the country. It is absolutely not. And we, again, out of every dark cloud comes a silver lining. COVID has once again afforded South Africa the opportunity to heal those rifts that previously existed or that have existed in the recent past. With the opening of borders, when our lockdown levels were reduced, we found that travel to and from all African countries was the first to be opened. When the borders in South Africa opened, there were no restrictions on any African countries coming into South Africa. And I believe that that was an absolutely, really considered decision, and it is the right decision to say that as a continent, we need to be able to utilize this opportunity that COVID has made available for us to start trading with each other. Indeed. And that goes into the tourism. And to say that we are not going to put restrictions on African travel, and to actually say the borders are open, all African countries can come and go based on all protocols being in place, and all, everywhere you go on the continent, when you come into that country, you need to have a COVID negative certificate. But I believe that COVID has even given us an opportunity to really heal whatever needs healing. And the challenge is for us to take up that opportunity and really utilize it.
Very well said. Speaking of healing, let me see real quick if I can. No, not yet. I was going to go to something your team did, and it was just something that was very inspiring. But like you very well said, it is a time for African governments. I think it's really key for African governments and the tourism industry worldwide to come together to find a solution and to also integrate Africa from within. We don't need, I'm in Nigeria, and I'll ask, and people will be selling me trips to Dubai and trips to, the Maldives and other places in the world. Much respect and beautiful places, no doubt. I'd love to go too. But we have places in Africa. We have places that, are in dire need of just that integration to bring the means of livelihood that is associated with it. And sustainability is a word that is being thrown around a lot lately. I think that has replaced the most of the Millennium Development Goals approach. So you find a lot of industries looking inwards and asking, how can we sustain ourselves, within what we find? What are some of the sustainability plans that Cape Town International Conference Center has put in place?
Well, as an organization, we operate based on what we call a triple bottom line, which is people, planet, and then profit. So in all our operations, we look at what is the impact on people on what we do, what is the impact on planet, and definitely then last, profit. And as a result, we have a dedicated team that looks after sustainability in all our operations. We call it the NOW team, and NOW stands for Nurture Our World. And we have a committee within the organization that looks at that, and it is something that we are also, when we report on in our annual report, when we do auditing, we also audit our results there. Okay. And when Cape Town went through its water crisis a few years ago, the Cape Town International Convention Center decided to invest in a reverse osmosis plant where we took water from the ocean, desalinized it, and used it. And as a result, we are able to be self-sustaining when it comes to water for about a week, where we don't need to depend on municipal water. So for us, that means that we actually become part of the solution. And when we do our events, we recycle things. For instance, when we do exhibitions, we work with our clients very closely to recycle the material they use in exhibition stands. For instance, if somebody did a huge exhibition stand, they've got wood, we would take that wood, donate it to a community partner that we work with, for them to produce, whether it's desks for school kids. So sustainability is central to what we do.
Indeed.
But we also believe that sustainability also means that we become a sustainable business by making sure that we trade with each other. So when it comes to tourism, traveling Africa, getting meetings and exhibitions to and from Africa before we take business from, or we take our business to other continents. So that means that we need to make sure that our tourism industry is sustainable by making sure that we trade with each other and circulate the business amongst each other.
That is so key. We must encourage this trade. I hope the people at the Africa Union and also the regional unions, ECOWAS, and what's it called in South Africa, SADC, and yes, and the West African and the East African regions. This issue of, it's so much more expensive to travel within Africa than it is to go to Europe or to America. That has to stop. We are within a continent. We should be able to visit each other. We should be able to cross borders. We should be able to come back home at will, so we're hoping that tourism, which is such a pleasurable and leisure activity, would help take care of that. We'll take a quick break while I put on a video of your team during the Jerusalem dance. Tell us a bit about that before I put it on.
I don't know if you know, actually, recently, the Jerusalem dance, there was a song done by a DJ in South Africa. And he did the song, and then this dance became viral around the world, and especially during COVID lockdown. And I think this past weekend, Jerusalem, the song and the video, just won at the MTV Base Awards. So this was basically after a long, protracted lockdown where our staff had not seen each other for close to 6 months. We had a staff breakfast to welcome everybody back. And we thought, let us do the Jerusalem challenge and dance just as a team building exercise.
Okay, let's take a listen.
Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana Jerusalema ikayalami ilondoloze uhambe nami zungangishilana mangishilana dawo yami ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami
Oh my goodness.
ayikholana buso wami awukholana ilondoloze zuhambe nami.
Oh, I can watch this all day, you know. Beautiful. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Amazing stuff that we could actually do this and achieve, achieve this. How long did it take to rehearse and
Well, I will not talk about myself because I was a lot of the times. But we have a very young team. I mean, very few people in their 50s, and this is my favorite part with the chefs.
I love
And
this.
I mean, they are normally very stoic. And when we saw the chefs going crazy, we were like, the chefs, really? So it took, they normally do like an hour's practice before we get the drone footage and recording, and there's Taubie pointing.
Oh my goodness, lovely!
This
I caught
was
a
really
glimpse of
fun
it.
for us before the staff breakfast, and it just really raised the morale.
Oh, that's good. I mean, anything really there. It's been a very, very sad and, depressing time for a lot of homes, a lot of families that have lost loved ones. People have been sick. People have been forced out of jobs, homes. The world is dealing with a lot. So it is great to see this type of anything that the workplace can do to bring some kind of joy and unity to bring a smile. Yeah,
it was a
to
lot
bring
of
a
fun.
smile.
It really was. Yes.
Okay, Taubie, we have been talking to Taubie Motlhabane, CEO of the Cape Town International Conference Center. I know I told you earlier. Oh, I gotta see first to make sure that everything is in place.
I am worried.
What are you worried about? You shouldn't be.
I'm not sure how I handle surprises.
Okay, all right. So don't worry. It won't be anything to worry about. I wanted to share a very, very personal memory with you.
Okay.
And I hope I can. Like I said, nothing to worry about. I don't even know the year. It must have been
this year.
It
I
must have
don't
been
even
90,
remember what year it was, but it was my
98?
grandmother's.
98 or 99? Tell us about it.
No, it can't be 99.
Okay, 98, 97 or 98? Tell us about it.
I think it was her 85th birthday. It was her 85th birthday, and I mean, I must confess, I was a little bit jealous here because it's like my grandmother had found a new love of her life.
Oh my goodness!
But this is still my mother's favorite photo, and these were these. I mean, this is what I said. I said, regardless of what's happening with xenophobia attacks, there is a very special connection between the people of South Africa and the people of Nigeria, and it will never be lost.
Indeed, indeed. Yes. Indeed. Thank you so much for your time, Ms. Taubie Motlhabane, CEO, doing amazing work, family member, sister, friend, done so much. I just needed to share that beautiful piece of our connection, and
Yes.
also to reiterate the fact that indeed in today's world, it's not about where you're from and, you know, the color of your skin anymore. It's about the bonds and the relationships that we form.
Yes.
And these are things that can take us, you know, many years, like Taubie and I have formed. It's great to see you in this position, and we wish you and your great staff. They've supplied us with so much material to talk about. Thank you to all your
Yes.
team, and we wish you the best in this position as the CEO of Cape Town International, and we hope that we'll continue the discussions and the integration with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Oiza, and please continue to do the great work that you're doing. And thank you for putting the African tourism on the spotlight, and continue to do it. And we hope you continue to talk to great leaders, especially women leaders on the African continent that are taking tourism to another level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taubie, and be safe.